Hello, this is Mrs. Smeckens, and for the last several lessons, we've been working on our reading voice and thinking voice. We've learned that readers have many different voices. We've learned about three. Our reading voice reads the words, it reads the visuals, it takes in the details the author gives us. And then our thinking voice is a whisper in our head, and it helps us figure out what does all of that mean. We've also learned about the distracting voice and that we don't want to listen to it when it creeps in. So in this lesson, what I want to talk about is that there are times that as a reader, you're just reading and thinking and reading and thinking and reading and thinking, and that's fine. But where do all those thoughts go? Well, sometimes as you're reading and you're having thoughts, you might share them with a friend, with a parent, with somebody else. You might voice what thought you're having. So you might share it out loud. Other times you might read and have thoughts and read and have thoughts, and you just kind of hold on to those thoughts for just a little bit, but because you didn't write them down, they poof, go away. But sometimes when readers are going through a text, they want to remember their thoughts. They don't want to forget them. And there's no one there to share them with. So they write them down. That's today's lesson. So how do writers write down their thinking voice thoughts? What does that look like? How does that work? And I want to start first with the idea that every time you are reading and you have a thought and you write down your thought, you are making tracks. You're making footprints. Let me show you this picture. If you've ever been swimming and you get out of the water and you step on the deck or the cement, the sidewalk, and you start to walk, you ever looked back behind you? And when you looked behind you, you saw your own footprints? That's what I'm talking about. That you were way over here, and then with every step, you moved forward, but you left tracks. Maybe it wasn't with water and a swimming pool. Maybe it was in the snow. Maybe you live where it gets cold and it snows. And after it snows and it's really clean, there's no footprints. You ever gone in and made big footprints and then again looked back and realized, that's where I was. And then I walked over there and over there and over there. And you can kind of look back at your own tracks. Sometimes readers do that. Sometimes readers don't just read and have thoughts and then forget about them. They read, have thoughts, and want to write them down. Why would you ever want to write them down, Mrs. Smeckens? Well, because you want to remember that information to tell somebody else. You want to remember that information because it was so interesting and you just don't want to forget it. You want to write down the information because you need to use that information later. You want to write about something and you need those facts. You need that information. So sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes readers write down their thoughts so they can use them later. So when we're kind of looking at, well, what would this look like? Well, I think the easiest way is to just take a piece of paper and just draw a line right down the middle. You just take a piece of paper and you draw a line right down the middle. And remember, you don't have thoughts if you didn't read. So first you have to read some words and then they cause you to have a thought. So you need to have both the reading voice and the thinking voice in your notes. So I'm going to draw a speech bubble because that is what the text says. And then I'm going to draw a cloud bubble because that is what the text means. Remember? Reading voice, thinking voice. And what you do now is start to read. And as you're reading and you come across something, a detail, a word, and your thinking voice starts to whisper to you, you want to write down What was the word or detail? Right here. What did the text say? This word, this detail. And what did it make you think? Right here. What does it mean? What are you thinking? Write it down right here. That's what we're learning to do today. We're not learning just to have thoughts when we read. We're getting better and better at that. But what we're learning to do is write down, track, so we can remember our thoughts. And all of our thoughts come from the reading voice first. So we want to actually have a place to write down, well, what words in the text? What did the text say? And what's your thinking voice telling you that it means? All right, let me show you. Let me show you this. And as I advance to the next slide here, I'm going to use another tall tale, another legend, another make-believe story, okay? And as I read, I'm going to do my reading voice and thinking voice like I have been. But when I finish reading and sharing my thought, then I'm going to show you how I write it down, okay? What it would look like when I wrote it down. So grab my sign, and here we go. All right, so this is called the Twist Mouth Family. A while back, there was a family I know of. A mother, a father, and several children. Okay, so like I'm picturing that family in my head, and I want to remember it. I want to write it down. And so part of what I write down is first, what detail did the text say that caused my thought? Well, it said family. It then said mother, and it said father, and it said children. So I just wrote those words. I did not write sentences. I'm just writing those key words. This is not sentences. This is notes, just quick words. Okay, but what does it mean? Well, my thinking voice said, oh, I see the picture of them. I see the father. I see the mother. And I see several children. And I'm just going to draw dots because I don't know. Is that 3 children, 5 children? I don't know. But several dots. In my mind, that means children. Now, when you're taking notes, they don't have to be real neat. Definitely don't have to be sentences. And they really just have to make sense to you. I know what I mean. Those dots are kids. All right, let me keep going. Back to my text. 4 of them had mouths that were twisted into strange shapes. Huh? 4 of the family members had a mouth that was twisted into a... Okay, I'm having a thought. The thought I'm having is, what does twisted look like? What kind of shapes? And 4 of them had... Oh, okay. I'm just going to write twisted mouth, and I'm going to do times 4. Okay. Now, I'm not really sure what I see yet for that, but I'm going to need to get a better picture. Let me keep going and see if I can't figure out what each of their mouths look like. Okay, I'm going to go back to reading. Here I go. The mother's mouth was twisted up, while father's mouth was twisted down. Oh, okay. So mother's mouth was like up, I guess, and father's was down like that. Okay, okay. Twisted mouths. Okay, I'm seeing it now. So father had his was down, and mother's hers was up. Okay, I'm seeing it. Okay, and so let me keep going. And I'm taking notes so I remember. Father had the down mouth and mother had the up mouth. I'm going to want to use this information, so I'm writing it down so I get it straight. All right, here I go. The sister's mouth was twisted left, while younger brother's was twisted right. The eldest son, John's, oh, well, that's the first name I got. I hadn't had a name the whole time. The eldest son, John's mouth was perfectly normal. Oh, there's 3 kids. And so one, I think they said it was sister. So I'm going to draw a line, sister, and her mouth was twisted left. I'm just going to draw that. I know what that means. It doesn't look like it to you, but that means her mouth was twisted left. And brother, I'm going to draw, write his name here. His was twisted to the right. Got it. And then John was there must only be 3 kids. Got it. So we have a brother, a sister, and then John, another brother, right? And his was normal. So I'm just going to draw a normal set of lips or mouth. At least that's what it looks like in my mind, in my thinking voice pictures. Do you see what I'm doing? Do you see how I read a little bit and I have my thought like we've been doing for many lessons now? Read, have a thought, read, have a thought. But instead of just having the thought and poof, letting it go away, sometimes readers write them down. So what words, what actual details in the text helped you think of that thought, of that picture in your mind? Okay, help me with this next one. All right, let's go back to our passage. Let's do this next part together. All right, here we go. When John grew up, his parents sent him to college. Okay, wait. So John isn't a little kid. What does he look like? Like, how old is he? Have you seen that? And where did it say he went? He grew up and he went where? And what do you picture what John looks like now? Because he's probably taller, right? And he went to college. So what picture are you seeing? Okay, let's write down. John is older, and now John went to college. So I see him taller now. That's John. And he's at college. I'm just going to draw a building. I know that means college, but I'm just going to draw a building. Okay? So there he is. Got it. Okay? I want to remember these details, so that's why I write down what I'm reading and what I'm thinking about. He was the first person in the family to get a college education. Wow, first one ever to go. Okay, well, wait a minute. He's the first one. What could we add to our picture? What detail could we add to help us remember that John didn't just go to college, he was the first one? What are you thinking you might add to your notes to help you remember that detail? I'm thinking like a 1 or even a 1 ST, like first. Yeah, I'm going to do it right there. I think that's a pretty good plan. Okay, first to go to college. Okay, so let me pause here and say that as readers, we always have our reading voice, thinking voice talking to each other. They always talk to each other, all right? And sometimes we just tell our friend what we're thinking. Sometimes we just tell ourselves silently and then forget it after a while. But sometimes we write it down, and we write down what the text means to us, what we're thinking next to, well, what words, what did it say for you to think that? And so we do it in a simple little teacher. You remember the tracks that we made in the snow and the tracks that we made in on the side of the pool? And let's really study those. How are they? Are they going around and around and around? Are they side by side? How would you describe those tracks? Would you say it's one after another, after another, after another? Like a list? Tracks in a list? Look, tracks in a list. These details made us think of these things. That's how readers take notes about their texts. Today and every day, when you want to remember what you read, you can simply make a T-chart of what the text said and what it made you think. Now, if you are in Mrs. Smecken's class right now, then I'm going to have you finish the rest of the Twisted Mouth family story. What in the world is up with these characters? And surely their twisted mouth has some importance, so let's figure it out. And so if I advance here in our slides back to the twisted mouth, we've read the first paragraph, but you have a couple more to go. And what I'd like you to do is track your thoughts. Now, you can do what I did and just get a piece of paper and just draw straight down the middle, all right? And draw a speech bubble for what the text says and a thinking bubble for what the text means. Or if you want, you can use my chart, my handout that's already made. Either one is an option, but I want you to read the story and tell me, what are you thinking as you're reading? Now, that's Mrs. Smecken's assignment, but your teacher might have a better idea.